in the sports community in these here parts, as we like to say. And the man for years and years and years, well over 30 years, the main sports columnist of Cincinnati Enquirer, and is still at it again. He's relaunched the morningline.substack.com, is Paul Daugherty. And Doc, good morning. How's your day so far today? You're not working over at the golf course, obviously, this morning.
I am not. I'm here. I worked yesterday in the 95-degree heat, Tom, doing the best damn job ever of cleaning carts.
What makes a good cart cleaner? Is there a secret to it? The more you do it?
Nah, it's just attention to detail, Tom. I'm a very detail-oriented guy. It's making sure that every blade of grass is washed off of every tire. You can't have grass on the tires before people even go out to the golf course. It's just pride. I take a great deal of pride in making sure that every golf cart that I wash goes out the cleanest golf cart in the history of mankind.
That is a very worthy accomplishment. I salute you for that. You better believe it. You sound a little bit like the late, great John Madden talking about the grass on the tires and, that kind of thing.
That's right.
Couple of topics. I know you and I have talked about this whole baseball thing, and we've got more baseball to talk about. Postseason's right around the corner. There are some very interesting races going on, not necessarily divisional races, but wild card races going on, where multiple teams are vying for a couple of spots to get into the postseason. But the Aaron Judge thing, I don't know if this was on the schedule right away or not, but it caught my attention this morning that now the Boston Red Sox are playing the New York Yankees in Yankee Stadium. No doubt will be sold out for a chance to witness history. And Fox has decided to pick this game up and put it on national television tonight. Now, maybe they had that in the works months ago, and I'm totally off base here. I doubt it, though, for a Thursday night. They haven't done that all year long. What does it mean if he breaks Roger Maris's record in the grand scheme of things? Because Barry Bonds holds the single-season record for home runs by a Major League Baseball player.
Well, I think that's the question of the hour. We're wrestling with, what does it mean? And a generation ago, Tom, that would be an absolutely ridiculous question. Well, what do you mean? What does it mean? He's hit more home runs in one season than any player that's ever done it without being aided pharmaceutically. We wouldn't even, that's a stupid question 20 years ago. It's a very legitimate question now, and it points to baseball's decline. I mean, when we were kids, baseball's numbers, we knew them by heart. 56, 41-91, Ripken's game playing streak. Baseball's heart and soul is his numbers. And here we have a guy who's closing in on a number that he's probably going to surpass, and we don't know what it means. We don't know how to define that. And that's a huge problem, I think, a huge problem. Some sit on the side of, the legitimate record is Bonds, and oh, by the way, McGuire hit 66 one year and 64 the next, and Sosa hit 64 one year. And those are the numbers, not this number. Others like me say, I tend to go with the Maris number. I think the Maris number for a single season is the more legitimate number. But the ultimate point is, where baseball is unable to attach any sort of certifiable meaning to a very important number. I'm not hearing you. If you're speaking, I can't hear you, Tom.
Okay. Let's see. Can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yep. Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Well, we just lost your video, so I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
Maybe you hit a button.
You can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, look, I don't know if you can feel sorry for a guy who's making, $25, $30, $35 million a year, whatever Aaron Judge is making. But based on everything you just said, there's a part of my heart that feels bad for him, because what he's gone out and has accomplished and will accomplish, because he's going to break this number, He might tie it tonight. He might break it tonight. He might hit 2 home runs tonight and go by Maris's record. But there's a part of me that feels bad for him because of the way baseball has sort of lost its identity in these numbers that you're correct. We all used to know by heart when we were growing up, and now you just don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, it's not dissimilar from what happened with Alex Rodriguez with 600. Pretty impressive feat to hit 600 home runs. It was an awkward day. It was an awkward when he hit his 600th. Other than people in New York, I don't know that anybody was really all that impressed or talking about it, and that's because of his link to performance enhancing drugs. Yeah, it's the same thing. And this is baseball. I mean, even football is not necessarily stat-driven, numbers-driven like baseball. It doesn't worship its numbers. But people can tell you that Emmitt Smith had 18,000 rushing yards. People can tell you that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar scored 38,000 points in the NBA. They can't have you don't know. How many home runs did Bonds finish with? I think 755.
Right.
But people will tell you that 715 is the number, or 714, which was Ruth's homer total. That was the number. Again, baseball is missing out because of this whole thing with the performance enhancers. And here we have a guy getting ready to do something fairly incredible. And he might win the Triple Crown in the American League, too, by the way. And nobody seems to take a lot of note outside of New York.
All right, I want to shift gears to the Bengals. 0-2 start. Joe Burrow during his press conference is saying, hey, everybody relax. We're going to get this thing together. We're going to be fine. Yesterday, Collins doesn't practice, is starting right tackle. Zach Taylor continues to say, yeah, there's some things we didn't do well, and yeah, there's some things we did okay, but it's going to be all right. Doc, they got to win this game, right?
Yeah, there's a very fine line, Tom, between panic and urgency. I mean, they say they feel the proverbial sense of urgency this week. I don't necessarily buy the notion, even though it is a statistic that I think 6 teams have gone 0-3 and made the playoffs like ever. Every year is different. Every team is different. The AFC North shows signs of going south already. I believe at the moment anyway, subject to change, the 10-7 will get this division. But that said, yes, this week is on the coaches, in my opinion. I think that, and I hope that they're in those dark rooms this week, scheming their little butts off, because it is shown for 2 weeks, without a doubt, that what they're doing is not working. They can't just line up all that great talent and win football games. They have to change. This is a crucial week for this coaching staff. Can they find a way to keep the heat off of Joe Burrow? I mean, everybody knows that's the problem. I think there are people in caves in Borneo waking up this morning saying, got to go to the short passing game. You know what I mean? It's not hard to diagnose, but it is up to the coaching staff to fix it. Now, I thought last week they'd try to establish Mixon first, and they sort of did, but it didn't work. I think they're going to try that again and mix in a sort of a hurry-up kind of offense where at the very least Burrow's not getting hit every play, but just as important, he has a chance maybe to establish some sort of rhythm. He's a rhythm guy. Most quarterbacks are. I haven't seen Joe Burrow get into much of a rhythm yet this year. He did once last week on the 19-play drive. Hurry it up. Pound the ball to Mixon. The Jets aren't very good. Their defense has given up 54 points. They only have 3 sacks. For the 3rd week in a row, they face a subpar quarterback. But I'll tell you what, if they, in the opening 3 weeks, lose to Mitchell Trubisky, Cooper Rush, and Joe Flacco, man, there won't be enough fingers in the world to start pointing at Bengaldom. So, yeah, crucial win in every aspect.
I want to dive in, though, Doc, on something you touched on there briefly, and that is the whole dynamic. You've been inside a lot of locker rooms in football, a lot of clubhouses in baseball, teams that are expected to be really good, and now all of a sudden things start going south in a hurry. not just from a win-loss record, but because of the win-loss record. Now, all of a sudden, in football especially, you'll start seeing some splintering going on, whether it's some of the players with the coaches, whether it's the offense versus the defense. Because let's face it, I don't care if it's Trubisky and Cooper Rush. This defense has played well enough to win both of these games. And sooner or later, knowing the dynamic of a football team, it can eventually happen where the defense starts looking at the offense and saying, when are you going to start doing your thing over there?
Yeah, it happens all the time everywhere. And there also may come a point where they start questioning the coaches. When they may start thinking like some of the rest of us, that last year was kind of a magical season that doesn't happen very often, and that the line between what they did last year and what they're doing now really isn't that big, and that's said all the time. The NFL is created for the more perfect 8-8, right? Everything is structured that way economically, the draft and so on. I don't know if doubt creeps in or not, but there's always that possibility. And there's the long range possibility that if Burrow keeps getting beat up, he'll have to seriously consider his options after this rookie contract. And I know the Bengals can tag him, and they would, but you don't want your quarterback thinking, I can't spend my career getting beat up like this. So yeah, the stuff that's not even on the field is as important in a week like this as the stuff off. They really need a win simply to confirm their belief in themselves. And I think that, especially in the coaches, if you lose the faith of the coaching staff, you start tuning out your coaches, you got problems.
I don't want to blindside you with this because you and I like to touch base on some of the topics that we're going to cover. And obviously you do a tremendous amount of homework getting ready for this. But you have known Jason Whitlock for a long time. I'm not saying you know him well. And if you'd prefer not even to get into this, that's fine. Because I didn't want to get into it yesterday. And because I made the comment that politically, I don't care where anybody is, I have a tremendous amount of respect for his opinions on a lot of different things in this society. I think he's extremely courageous, whether you agree with him or disagree with him. But as an African-American man in this society, for him to have some of the opinions that he has in direct contrast with many other African-American in this country, I think he's a smart guy, and I really am a fan of his. But what was your reaction, even if you're familiar with it, Doc? I don't know if you are. What was your reaction to that whole thing and his comments about Joe Burrow? And again, if you don't want to talk about it, just say so, and it's no problem.
First, you'll have to. You said I'm prepared, and I usually am, but I don't dwell on a lot of the stuff that Whitlock does, so you'll have to tell me what he said about Joe Burrow.
Well, he just, he made the comment that Casey helped me here, that in a nutshell, he was saying that, he compared him to Josh Rosen, which was a totally unfair. And then he talked about being a guy chasing social media, when in reality, Burrow had only posted, I think, 10 things on Instagram over the last year and only 4 or 5 things on Twitter over the last year. Casey, just give me the nutshell.
Here's the exact quote that he said. Joe Burrow might be a high-class Josh Rosen. Burrow is a bit woke, chasing social media fame, and he's certainly full of himself. Reevaluating my Joe Burrow position, stay tuned. And then he initially said, if Joe Burrow were a black man, we may have been quicker to call out his BS. And then recently he actually tweeted out that Joe Burrow, let's see here. Joe Burrow is suffering from Colin Kaepernick disease. Kaepernick's disease is a deadly form of arrogance, shallowness, narcissism, and wokeness. The disease is triggered when agents, handlers, and media influencers convince young athletes their mission to be more than the athlete themselves. So,
and he went on to say, he looked in the camera and he said, Joe Burrow, just go play football and stay away from some of these other things that we see so many athletes getting involved in today, social issues and so forth. So I know, but us telling you all this stuff, it's unfair to even to ask your reaction to any of that.
Well, I would be very surprised if Jason Whitlock has ever met Joe Burrow, let alone spoken to him. Um, I don't know. I think Jason Whitlock's a really good writer, and I know what he does and why he does it, and he's very good at that. On the other hand, in his quest for ratings, page views, whatever likes, um, he's saying some things that really just have no basis in fact. The notion that he thinks Joe Burrow is what did he say, full of himself? I
Yeah.
mean, don't you want a quarterback that way? I always thought that the guys who were full of themselves, the Boomer Esiasons of the world, were pretty good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I want my guy out there. And I think, and I've said this forever, when people get mad at me for talking politics on the morning line, just because you're in a sport or writing about a sport doesn't disqualify you from having a life, from having an opinion on other issues. I don't think anybody really got down on Joey Votto when he was supportive of Black Lives Matter. I think he's a human being. He's allowed to have opinions on things. The notion that that Whitlock is comparing Joe Burrow to Colin Kaepernick, um, I'm not sure what planet Whitlock lives on these days, but it's not ours. I don't think you can put the two in the same sentence with any credibility, other than the fact that one used to play quarterback and got to the Super Bowl. One still plays the quarterback and is trying to get to the Super Bowl. Gloria Steinem once, I think it was Gloria Steinem, once said about Oakland, there's no there.
Yep.
That's kind of my take on Jason Whitlock's opinion of Joe Burrow. There's no there.
I got you. And again, I didn't mean to throw a curveball at you, Doc.
No,
I don't mean to do that. I don't like to do it. I don't like when people do it to me. All right, my friend. End of the day, you think the Bengals go there and win?
I'd like to say yes, but and I'm glad that we bet your house and not mine on them beating the Cowboys.
Yeah,
I still have a place to live. I don't know where you're living.
I'm right across the street in this empty park in Hamilton, Ohio.
Oh, there you go. I'll come by and
Yeah, right.
drop off a loaf of bread for you. I think
you.
they win. I think that it is sort of a must-win situation. I'm not sure that the fact they may or may not have Lyle Collins is all that important. I didn't know he played the last 2 weeks. But I think that the Jets aren't very good. There's no Micah Parsons there. There's no T.J. Watt. The sort of pressure that Burrow faced the first 2 weeks, I'm not convinced he's going to see this week. I mean, if he does and they don't win, big trouble in River City. But I think they get this game. I think they may get it by 7 to 10 points.
Okay. All right. All right. We will touch base, Doc, next week. Thanks so much for your time, as always, and have a great weekend.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right. Be good. Paul Daugherty, always awesome, getting his perspective on things. I feel bad about throwing him out there about that Whitlock thing. That was not right of me, and I got to do my best not to do that again.